All right, so today I just wanted to give a quick update about a slew of things that have happened in the past few weeks now. It's actually mind-blowing how rapidly quick things have been just changing on the issue of the Temple Mount, terrorist attacks, riots in the streets. It's been crazy. So stay tuned. Okay, so 2 Fridays ago, there was a terrorist attack, an awful, vicious terrorist attack up on the Temple Mount, where 2 Israeli policemen were gunned down on the Temple Mount, on the holiest place on earth to the Jewish people, by Muslims. 3 Muslim terrorists entered up onto the Al-Aqsa early in the morning for the morning prayers. They had armed themselves up on the Temple Mount, came off the Temple Mount, went and changed their clothing. They come back up onto the Temple Mount, and then they carry out their vicious attack, targeting the Israeli policemen who were just doing their duty, keeping the Temple Mount safe and secure, and actually assuring the status quo, which in reality is that Muslims have full reign on the Temple Mount. They have freedom of worship, you name it. It's like, what are these guys protesting? What is the logic behind the attack, if not baseless incitement that was pumped down their throats since they were little children? A week after that, exactly a week later, then we have another attack, another vicious attack just in Samaria, not too far away from Ramallah. There's another vicious terrorist attack, and this time it's even worse, because this time a family was targeted by a terrorist as they were receiving their Sabbath meal together as a family, to sit down and actually also to celebrate a newborn son that was born to one of the children of the family. So the grandfather was having a meal in his home with his children and his newborn grandson to celebrate the birth of the grandson. And as they're gathered together for their Sabbath meal, the vicious attack begins by the terrorists knocking on the door. They open the door because they thought it was some of the guests coming to celebrate. And sure enough, here the attacker comes in, barges into the home, and rips into the father. And while the mother of the family is rushing the kids and hiding away in the house, the father of the home holding off this attacker with his dear life, and gave up his life to defend his family. And then after that, his son was murdered and one of their daughters. In addition to this, there have been attacks in Jordan. And then just to top all that, you have riots all over the world. Turkey, there are Jews coming under attack in Turkey, which there's no surprise there because, by the way, for those who don't know, Turkey is the number one instigator in the Islamic world. They're the number one instigators who are instigating Muslims worldwide to fight for the Al-Aqsa, to fight for Jerusalem against the Jewish inhabitants. This is what we're up against. This is what the fight is all about. This is what the incitement is all about. All because Israel decided to change the reality on the Temple Mount. Not that Muslims can't pray on the Temple Mount, not that they're not going to be the ones that have full control, if you will, over the Temple Mount and over having them being the only ones that have freedom of worship and prayer on the Temple Mount, because the Israeli security forces decided to put up metal detectors on the entry points to Muslims. What? This is the big outrage, that we're trying to ensure the security of the worshipers who are mainly Muslim up on the Temple Mount? Because mind you, there's only one entry point to Jews and tourists. In other words, anyone else who's not Muslim, where you have a metal detector searched and prevented for bringing any religious items of any kind. You can't wear a Magen David. You can't have a prayer book or a Bible. None of that. Nothing that is not Islamic you cannot bring up there that has a religious significance. So what changed is that there were security measures in place on the Temple Mount, just like you have in Mecca and that you have at the Vatican, that you have in any place that is considered a holy place or a heritage center or whatever it is, something that's of importance to society. You have security measures. In other words, what's happening is that the Muslims are reacting in such ridiculousness They're the ones carrying out the terrorist attacks, and they're the ones that are protesting the security measures. So take a stand, go to our website, go to change.com petition that we have there, and sign our petition to establish Jewish sovereignty on the Temple Mount, because now's the time to make a stand. This is Doron Keidel reporting from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for listening, and shalom.